With its unique grass seat, this chair combines both comfort and aesthetic appeal. The chair was bought by the guest in 1986 for $23. Made by the renowned furniture designer George Nakashima, this chair showcases his signature style, blending traditional Japanese woodworking techniques with modern elements. The chair's distinctive feature lies in its grass seat, a unique fusion of organic and industrial elements.
And what this chair is it's a very elegant, sophisticated, modern version of a traditional Japanese crafted chair.
The handcrafted, tightly woven seagrass seats, hand-shaped side rail spindles, and hand-turned legs all indicate that it is authentic Nakashima furniture. This beautiful piece goes for...
This chair at auction typically sells for between $2,000 and $2,500.
Okay. Thank you so much.
This guest brought an Alphonse Wald oil painting created in 1935, which he thought it was just a tourist souvenir, so finding out its value was a shock. The painting is a joy to look at. Apparently, it's one of the arts appraisers' dream of what we came here for. You know, this is what we dream of. And significantly valuable. The value is worth between $200,000 and $300,000.
Oh, that's terrible. Oh, it was such a nice picture to just sort of have around.
The guitar is so priceless to the guest that he went to remarkable lengths to get it back when it was stolen. The guitar was purchased in 1964 with the sum of $300. The 1964 Jazzmaster, which was made by the company Fender, has a matching body and headstock.
The earlier custom color Fenders would just have the custom color on the body, but the headstock would be the blonde maple.
Oh.
Despite the chips on its body, the guitar is in pretty good shape. Together with the amplifiers, the appraiser values it about...
So the amplifier is probably easier at the $3,000, $3,500, something like that.
Will the guest sell it?
Letters have always been portals to hidden words, but none so enchanting as this. A missive penned by J.R.R. Tolkien, echoing with the whispers of Middle-earth secrets. The appraiser, astounded by the distinctive handwriting and signature, identifies the author immediately. The guest explained that during their 7-year residency in Milwaukee, they crossed paths with an employee at Marquette University, where he worked closely alongside Mr. Reddy in the archives. Being a member of the Tolkien Society and having personal connections with Christopher Tolkien, the guest inherited the letter through his estate. The letter, dated 1957, contains references to Tolkien's iconic works, including The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings trilogy. Delving deeper, the appraiser unveils the historical significance of the letter, detailing Tolkien's financial struggles and the pivotal sale of his manuscripts to Marquette University. The guest, having acquired the letter through a connection with the Tolkien Society, recalls a previous undervaluation of the item. However, with the resurgence of interest in Tolkien's works, and as per appraiser,
I would feel comfortable estimating this at auction at $8,000 to $12,000, and I would think insurance-wise you'd be looking at more like $15,000 as an insurance.
Clocks are more than mere timekeepers. They are guardians of history, repositories of craftsmanship, and vessels of family legacy. McCabe 1790 carriage clock, cherished as a family heirloom, captivated attention. Hailing from London, England, it boasts the meticulous craftsmanship of James McCabe, a distinguished watchmaker of the early 19th century. While the inscription may suggest an origin date, it signifies a serial number, indicating its esteemed lineage. Crafted entirely by hand, the clock's brass case and silver-washed brass dial epitomize London's unrivaled quality. Though reminiscent of a carriage clock, its design classifies it as a table or library clock, showcasing versatile elegance. Featuring a striking mechanism and bearing McCabe's signature, it exudes pride in craftsmanship. Notably, the fusee movement ensures precise timekeeping by equalizing the spring's power output. The original chain, painstakingly assembled link by link, adds an authentic touch rarely found in antique timepieces. As the appraiser mentions,
I think that you probably would have to budget somewhere in the neighborhood of $4,500 to $5,000 buying it out of a good shop.
Yeah.
A label from a peach can belonging to the guest uncle was presented with a letter on the back from World War I. The appraiser admired the beautiful piece of graphic art, identifying the letter from a soldier in the machine gun company 4th Infantry Regiment. In addition to expressing gratitude for the peaches and praising the quality of the product, the letter also provided insight into the conditions and sentiments of soldiers during World War I.
Enough to save the label and send it back. There's something else in here. They tasted so good.
While the label itself may have been worth around only $10 as a collectible item, its historical importance elevated its value significantly. The rare item was assessed to be worth around,
I would expect to see a retail value today for this in the neighborhood of $550 to $600.
Wow, not bad for a can of peaches.
The guest's late husband, a graphic artist and poster collector, cherished this particular circus poster featuring Jumbo the elephant. Jumbo, a beloved circus elephant, was tragically killed in 1885, reportedly saving another elephant from an oncoming train. This event sparked Barnum's creative storytelling to rescue the circus's reputation. The appraiser expresses a fondness for clown imagery and explains that the
P.T. Barnum was considered the world's greatest huckster, and early circus posters are a wonderful window into the history of American advertising.
Revolutionized by traveling circuses like Barnum's. The poster was printed by the Strobridge Company, a renowned American lithographer based in Cincinnati, known for its
Gold standard for American turn-of-the-century commercial lithography.
Although the poster lacks a specific date, it is estimated to be from the early 1890s, featuring the headline about Jumbo's heroic sacrifice and various exciting scenes of elephant performances. Despite the lack of a specific date, the poster's historical significance and vibrant colors contribute to its value. The appraiser estimates its worth at auction to be between...
At auction, I would estimate its value at between $2,000 and $3,000.
With potential to sell closer to the high end due to its excellent condition. The guest is pleased with the appraisal, noting that her husband would have been happy.
I need a pair of red striped pants. That would be perfect.
The guest inherited this Chinese porcelain bowl from his grandfather, who had an interest in collecting art, particularly old master prints and ceramics, post-World War II. After his grandfather's passing, his grandmother donated some of the items to the Brooklyn Museum. The guest received this bowl around 2010 and kept it tucked away on a shelf for safekeeping, as it didn't fit with the rest of their belongings. The bowl had a brilliant copper red glaze and a precise white rim. Upon flipping it over, the bowl had the rain mark, Da Jing Zhangji Nieji, indicating it was made during the Jing dynasty under the reign of Emperor Zhengji. Notably, it was crafted at the imperial kilns in Jingdanjin, making it a genuine mark and period piece. The bowl's rare shape and exceptional glaze suggested it might have been used in some rituals during the Zhengji period. Given its rarity and authenticity, the appraiser estimated the value to be between $30,000 to $50,000. The guest expressed surprise at its potential value. These items were crafted in Charleston, South Carolina, during the 18th and 19th centuries. They're made from a silver alloy known as coin silver, typical of that era. Each piece exhibits exquisite craftsmanship with intricate designs and details. They offer a glimpse into the skilled workmanships of silversmiths. Displaying them in homes brings a sense of connection to the past. It's fascinating to imagine the hands that meticulously fashioned these pieces centuries ago. Owning these Charleston coin silver treasures is a true delight. At the auction level, it's worth $1,500 to $2,000 wholesale. These oyster plates were found in the tub. They were made by George Jones in England in 1875. Oyster plates are special dishes used for serving oysters. They typically have a round shape with several small indentations. These plates are often made of ceramic or porcelain. Oyster plates come in various designs and colors. Some plates feature intricate patterns or motifs inspired by marine life. The wells on the plate are strategically placed to prevent the oysters from sliding around and spilling their juices. Oyster plates are prized items for their unique designs and historical significance, and these two each more like $600 to $800. Amidst the backdrop of World War II's stormy theater, one man's journey led to a captivating discovery, an artifact with a story as intriguing as its craftsmanship. A guest shared the fascinating tale of her late husband's involvement in World War II, highlighting his role in retrieving artifacts from a German castle. Among these treasures was a captivating Russian bronze sculpture. This sculpture, bearing the signature of artist A. Ober and originating from the Warfel foundry, boasts exquisite detail, particularly in the portrayal of the figure and the horse. The craftsmanship reflects Ober's training in Paris and his dedicated study of animals. Although likely crafted in the late 19th century, uncertainty surrounds its exact origin, suggesting it may have been cast outside of Russia. Nonetheless, its undeniable quality is evident, contributing to an estimated value of $8,000 to $10,000. The guest, born in La Jolla, San Diego, met Dr. Seuss as a child and later found original artwork by him at an estate sale in Long Beach, which fueled his passion for collecting. The artwork is for the World of Dr. Seuss lunchbox created by Aladdin in 1970. It includes original stamps, showcasing Dr. Seuss's meticulous control over his art.
If you've seen it, the lunchbox, which sells in great condition for about $400.
The back panel features Horton and other characters, matching the lunchbox colors. The sides feature the Sneetches and other characters. Although the iconic Cat in the Hat panel is missing, the rarity and originality of the artwork greatly enhance its value.
I feel that something like this would easily bring between $10,000 and $15,000 at auction.
God, really?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Books are precious pieces of history. One such remarkable find was discovered by the guest at the bottom of a box lot. An old baseball book containing signatures from the 1939-1940 baseball era. Purchased at an auction for just $10 only, the guest patiently awaited its appearance, hoping to uncover hidden treasures. This box turned out to be the 1939 Who's Who in the major leagues, and it held within its pages a treasure trove of autographs from legendary players of the time. Notably, the guest found signatures from iconic figures like Lou Gehrig, Joe DiMaggio, and a rookie Ted Williams. With approximately 184 signatures in total, this book is an extraordinary discovery.
I'm not aware of a baseball publication from this era that has as many signatures as this book.
And it reflects the rich history of baseball and its celebrated players. The appraiser valued this remarkable find at a whopping $10,000 to $15,000.
Fantastic. It will go to the kids because they're baseball fans also. But nice. Had no idea.
It must feel incredible being friends with one of the greatest NBA coaches of all time, Red Auerbach. The man's wife brought in a team-signed Celtics photo in basketball. Red Auerbach was an American basketball coach who served as a head coach in the National Basketball Association. He is notably known as the head coach of the Boston Celtics. Red drafted Chuck Cooper, the first African-American to be drafted into the NBA. The photo was taken around 1956 to 1957, and the basketball was signed around 1957 to 1958.
Each one of these at $10,000 to $15,000.
No, you're kidding.
Her husband will be stoked upon hearing this.
I brought this pin that my uncle, Shiro, made in the internment camp at Poston.
According to the National Archives, he was in a relocation camp from 1942 to 1946. Prior to the camp, Shiro was living on Terminal Island, which was located in California. Shiro's niece brought a piece which he had made in an internment camp at Poston during World War II. Her piece was in the form of a bird, and he created it out of sagebrush. The frame included a camp story, a picture of the camp, and Shiro's picture. She also brought a picture of her uncle receiving his internment order from a soldier to evacuate the island and go to the internment camp. The value of the item is not very high, but the emotional value is even more.
Was to come up for sale, I would expect to see a retail value of $1,000 to $1,500.
Gift that was bought during a family trip turned out to be worth thousands. His father secretly bought a gold watch during their trip to Europe and gifted it to his wife for Christmas. The watch was made by Rolex, a Swiss watch designer and manufacturer based in Geneva, Switzerland. The engraving of the watch was done by hand and is fully 18-karat gold. It also had VV's diamond stones around it, which were 2/3 in carat.
This watch would probably be priced somewhere between $12,000 and $15,000.
Wow, I thought it would be $1,000.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country.
Dawn, I appreciate you coming in today, and we have what looks like just an average man's briefcase.
From being John F. Kennedy's shoe shiner to owning one of his briefcases, a niece of a cobbler, Dawn, brought a briefcase that belonged to John F. Kennedy. Jeff Kennedy visited her uncle's cobbler shop on Beacon Hill in Boston for weekly shoe shines. One day, he left his briefcase at her uncle's shop, and when he came back for the next shoe shine, her uncle tried to return it, but Kennedy told him to keep it.
So we're going to take a look inside just to see what we have. And you can see inside we have the compartment where his lunch was.
Yes.
And his papers. You got that nice little deli smell, so we know it was a liverwurst sandwich. Could have been olive loaf, but not sure.
The briefcase had Jeff Kennedy's initials engraved on the outside, and inside it were some handwritten notes. Our uncle had later gifted the briefcase to Dawn's father, who usually took the case to school to flaunt it. I mean, who wouldn't, right? Sadly, when he took it to a history class, someone took the letters out of the bag. Those letters might have been worth a lot of money. Apparently, several briefcases belonging to Jeff Kennedy have come up at auction before, and one even sold for $700,000. But what is this particular briefcase worth?
Probably put an estimate somewhere between $20,000 and $30,000.
Wow.
It's a great piece of American history. The fact that JFK actually held the handle. He had his lunch in here.
The guest recalls receiving the Gibson mandolin from their father in 1935 when they were about 10 years old. Our guest started taking mandolin lessons and joined a plectrum orchestra.
We played in the orchestra, and we were on the radio Tuesdays and Thursday nights.
That's great.
The appraiser identifies the mandolin as a Gibson AC model, Century or Century of Progress model, made in 1935. They note that it was not an expensive mandolin to make, but was a flashy and rare model, especially with its Peerloid fingerboard and spruce carved arch top. The guest reminisces about being the flashiest mandolin player in the orchestra, seated on the first row. The appraiser appraises the mandolin's retail value at approximately...
Well, I think in a retail situation, it's worth about $2,500 to $3,000.
They express surprise at the mandolin's pristine state, stating it's the best one they've ever seen.
Another great piece to look at in this episode is the Signal Cannon made by the Winchester Repeating Arms Company, an American company that specializes in the production of repeating arms and ammunition. The piece belongs to the guest's grandfather, and as small as it is, its sound can deafen the ear. The guest shares a rare and almost unbelievable information about the sound effect of the cannon.
They made about 18,000 of them in total, and they would generally be used for salute cannons, the beginning of races.
It's a single cannon filled from the rear. It requires only a standard 10-gauge blank shotgun shell. Balls and regular shotguns are not allowed to be used in it. The breech behind it serves as its cover, which is closed after a blank shotgun shell has been inserted into it. When the breech has been closed, a cord by its side is pulled to snap the firing pin into the cannon to get it fired. The piece is one of the 18,000 made by the company in 1898. The products were used for salute at the beginning of races to make a loud sound. It's a nice gem to have it as it serves many purposes. At market value, it's worth?
This condition, I would estimate at auction, it would bring around $600 to $800.
Oh, wow, that's very nice.
Yeah.
This man brought a quirky sideboard. He inherited it from his aunt, and it looks magical and mysterious. It is an unconventional piece of furniture, and one of the differentials are the materials. It has an amazing hinge side showing different woods combined for one furniture. Finally, the handles are Victorian-era designs. It's worth about £100 at auction.
Sure, yeah.
The guest brings this map, which he produced at an auction house, seeking knowledge on its age, authenticity, and value. This map is over 450 years old, dating to 1575. It is an extract of the book Civitates Orbis Terrarium, meaning Cities of the World.
This is, as you know, Cambridge. And you can see this is what the Elizabethan English were wearing at the time. Not only is it that old, but the color is that old.
There's significant damage by mold to the map. This affects its existence and value. The appraiser values it to be about...
Now, in terms of the value as it is, you could sell this in a retail shop for about $1,800.
Very good.
Take a look at this ceramic portrait of Queen Anne, an elegant piece with an interesting story of its origin.
I have always suspected that she was Queen Anne, and so my father told me she always was suspended from the same place on the wall, and latterly she's hung from a picture hook in our house.
According to the appraiser, it has another copy that was auctioned in London and dated 1704. This piece is really interesting in having this lovely squirrely border with foliage reserved on it. The portrait was probably taken from an engraving after a painting by Nella, or one of the major artists of the time. Here's what the appraiser thinks about this.
It's a part of a group of plaques that all have similar marks to this, which is probably the monogram of the painter. We don't know who he is, but he did do several plaques, some of which are dated around this period.
With minor damages, how much do you think this piece would fetch?
Fetch £14,000 to give you some idea of what this should be worth today.
Well, all I can say is that I'm very relieved that we had such a strong nail in the wall.
Old-time pieces of modern-day beauty are what we should call these Chinese porcelain pots. Before this time, the guests had come in contact with the piece about 35 years ago. Wow. The owner got the piece from a lady who was her husband's relation, and she loves it. You may think it's just a pot, but I think otherwise. This pot is imperial Chinese porcelain, specially made for the imperial court. It's a representation of 18th century Chinese classicalism. It's called an ho, and as you can see, it is painted in underglazed cobalt blue. The design on it's quite traditional. You can see the lotus around its neck, Buddhist designs, and Banti motif around its belly. The Ellis knot design is closely associated with Buddha, and it's also got another, which is the twin fish, signaling marital harmony. Now you know it isn't just a regular pot. So many details, so many cultures and practices of the East well painted on a pot that makes it really unique. The pot still got more specialties. It's got the rain mark and seal mark of the Emperor Qin El. This particular pot brought to the show isn't the most perfect of its type. It's got a broken sprout, and that may have reduced its worth from tens of thousands to a price around.
They will probably pay maybe £5,000 or £10,000 for a repaired piece. That's what this is worth. Somewhere between £5,000 and £10,000.
This guest brings two ceramic pots, which have been in her husband's family for some time. These pots belong to the Anazi tribe. The Anazi were a Native American Pueblo tribe who lived in the Four Corners, where the states Colorado, New Mexico, Utah, and Arizona meet. They were famous for the kind of buildings they had. These vessels were uniquely made of clay and ash.
And then they would make it into long strips, and they were coiled like this. And while it was still wet or in the leather condition, they would scrape it till it was really, really thin.
It's quite rare to be seen in this intact condition.
So much of this archaeological material comes in fragments, and the pieces are put together and things. So this is really quite wonderful.
How much will the appraiser value it?
I would probably put an insurance value of about $6,000 on the two.
Oh, wonderful.
Anyone who loves antiques can't help but feel a thrill when someone brings a special item to the Antique Roadshow, especially when the valuation is extremely high.
Holy moly!
That's the whole reason we watch, right? Here are some of the most expensively appraised antiques on the Antique Roadshow, with the highest being appraised at a whopping $1.5 million.
This is worth £1 million.
I would insure it for at least $1 million.
Between $800,000 and $1 million.
Seriously?
Back in 2010, a woman named Pat brought a painting of her grandmother to the show and said the painting was passed on to her by her father in the late 60s.
My father gave me this painting that I remember it so well when I was a little child in Yorkshire, England.
The painting was made by the famous American artist Robert Henry, who created notable artworks such as A Snow in New York, Dutch Girl in White, and The Spanish Gypsy. Robert Henry was a friend of the family and was commissioned to paint the portrait in Bedlington, England, where her grandmother resided.
In August, we have records that he was then commissioned to do a portrait and went to England to paint a portrait.
Ah, this is it.
Pat had initially tried to appraise the painting at the repository of Henry's work in Boston and was disappointed to hear that, because it was a family portrait, no one would want it.
And they said it was not worth much more than Grandpa paid for it, and Grandpa paid $4,500. And the reason it's not worth much more is because it's a family portrait.
But could the repository be wrong about the worth of Pat's grandmother's portrait, Henry's famous paintings, which are displayed in the Tate Gallery in London and the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York, have been auctioned at extremely high prices, ranging from $200,000 to $1 million? The appraiser on the show, Fairbanks, disclosed that the painting was extremely valuable.
I believe you should probably insure this somewhere in the area of $250,000 to $300,000.
Oh, no.
Because
no.
it is
Oh, my God.
It's early. It's at the time of the founding of the Ashcan School.
That's not all. In 2016, the painting went up in value, ranging from $500,000 to $700,000. Now, we love to see the shock on people's faces when they hear that their item has a value worth millions of dollars.
Seriously?
So was the case with the owner of this 1904 Diego Rivera painting.
It was hanging behind a door.
The painting was bought by the great-grandparents of the man and have been in the family for about 80 years. It was a 1904 Diego Rivera painting named El Albanil. Diego Rivera was a prominent Mexican painter whose artwork served as a ground for the establishment of the mural movement in Mexico. As of 2018, Rivera holds the record for the highest amount in an auction for an artwork by a Latin American artist.
My understanding of the painting's history is that it was painted in 1904 by Diego Rivera. And at that point, Diego Rivera, who is arguably one of the most important Latin American 20th century artists, was only 18 years old.
Diego Rivera makes a lot of money at auctions. Tell us, what is this painting worth?
Be putting a retail estimate on the piece of between $800,000 and $1 million.
Seriously?
Seriously?
Oh my gosh.
After hearing the worth and importance of the painting, the owner of El Albanil felt that it was best if the painting was kept in a museum for people to view. The painting is currently displayed at San Antonio Museum of Art in the United States. Never would have thought an old plate collection would earn a person thousands. Out of the 3 plates he brought, the first was a Coalport plate, which was first produced in 1795 in Shropshire, England. The Coalport plate was popular for its intricate design and fine craftsmanship. The second plate is an 18th century English porcelain plate from the Chelsea factory, which was aimed at the luxury market. In 2015, an item with the Chelsea anchor mark was auctioned at $42,000. Wait, this plate also has the Chelsea anchor mark engraved on it. The third plate is a continental porcelain from the German porcelain factory of Nymphenburg, which was painted by Joseph Zackenberger, who worked at the factory as a flower painter from 1760 till 1770. Joseph is said to have designed the plate for the court of the Duke of Bavaria, Maximilian III, Joseph of Bavaria. The first out of the 3 porcelain plates was appraised at $100. Unfortunately, the second porcelain plate with the Chelsea anchor mark reduced in value due to some minor imperfections, but still valued at an impressive $800. And the third has a too late to become a collector yourself, fellas. Those items might just be worth a fortune someday. In 2004, a man brought in a gold pocket watch, which was passed on by his great-grandfather, George Thompson, who was an Anglo-American living in St. Paul. His great-grandfather was an owner and editor of St. Paul Pioneer Press and Dispatch, a newspaper company in the United States. The pocket watch was custom-made in 1914 by the popular Swiss company and luxury watch manufacturer Patek Philippe. The watch had been neatly kept and was brought to the show in its original box. The man had appraised the watch 15 years before he brought it to the show, and it was valued at $6,000. An appraiser on the show had informed the man that Patek Philippe was purchasing watches of that kind for their museum.
This watch at auction, I suspect, would bring close to $250,000.
No.
Yes.
$250,000?
This is one incredible watch. I've never held a watch like this in my hand.
What? You're kidding?
Amazing, right? But this isn't even close to what this watch was valued a few years later.
And that watch today, we estimate, is worth at least $2 and possibly $3 million.
2 years later, the man sent the watch to a popular auction company, Sotheby's, where it was sold at $1.5 million, plus buyer's premium. But that's not all. In 2019, This same watch is valued at $2 to $3 million. One can only wonder how much this watch will value in 10 years' time. The watch has now been acquired by the makers and is being displayed at the Patek Philippe Museum in Geneva. Well, you can say that the watch finally found its way back home.
We have an art painting with great historic and sentimental value. This art piece was made by George Clausen, who was one of the most beautiful artists in Britain. To the guest, this piece has tremendous charisma.
It is the most compulsive object in my house.
Yes.
And it's in my living room and people comment on it. It has a lot of humor, a lot of compassion.
This painting dates back to 1917, during the First World War. George Clausen is also the same artist responsible for Youthful Sorrows painting. One of the most compelling things about this painting is her eyes.
These eyes have had the cream of youth dying in her arms. And these eyes reflect something within her which she will live with for the rest of her life, as most people who survived the First World War did.
Yes.
A popular George Clausen painting can make £500,000, but this piece is valued at?
I would value this at £20,000 to £30,000, that sort of level.
Yes.
And I think it's a wonderful treasure.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
This exquisite piece of art is made by the French potter Bernard Palissy. Meticulously crafted, this piece highlights the fine intricacies of aquatic life, infusing a hint of the sea into your dining experience. This piece is a collection of the guests' grandparents.
And we got to choose something of theirs to remember them by. I thought, well, I associate them with the fish plate more than anything else.
The vibrant colors and lifelike textures bring a whimsical and elegant touch to your living room. These pieces were produced not only in France, but also in England, Germany, and Portugal. This piece falls under the category of Majolica, known for its beautiful glazes. Palissy expertly molds and paints an enchanting assortment of fish, shells, and vegetation. At appraisal, the value would be between...
The right auction, it would realize in the range of $2,500 to $3,500.
Yeah.
This man brought an Albrecht Dürer in Rembrandt print and a portrait. He inherited all of them from his father. The first one is an Albrecht Dürer, earliest work believed to be made in 1514. The one in the center is a beautiful drawing by Rembrandt dating to 1647. While the last print is a portrait of Jean Lepma dated to the late 18th century. The Dürer is valued at $40,000, while the Rembrandt at $50,000. The last print is valued at $5,000.
Thank you very much. I'm astonished. No, I'm amazed.
This guest brought a mountain landscape painting that was collected by her husband. Albert Burstadt is the artist who was originally born in Germany before coming to America. He was fascinated by the landscapes of different countries for his painting. This work is believed to be made in 1875. His works are a blend of Western, European, and American landscapes. This particular work features mountains like the Alps or Rocky Mountains. This painting is worth $50,000.
Oh, really? Really?
Yes.
I had no idea.
He's really one of the hottest artists in the traditional American paintings market.
Wonderful.
The guest inherited the junior kerosene lamp from his parents, which held childhood memories. The lamp had Burmese glass from a company in England named Webb.
Frederick Shirley of Mount Washington Glass invented Burmese glass in the United States.
This item had a berry and leaf pattern made by Frederick Shirley, dated back to 1886. The lamp was umbrella-shaped and in pristine condition. The color shade transitioned from salmon pink to lemon yellow, adding aesthetic appeal.
We're very fortunate to have an umbrella-shaped shade in perfect condition.
The base had the Webb circular mark, and fixtures indicated that it was made in Germany and intended to be exported to London. How much would the item be valued?
In today's market at auction, I would say $4,000 to $5,000 for this lamp.
Oh my gosh.
We have interesting pieces of furniture with an incredible story to follow. Owned by Moses Annenberg, who is a publishing mogul in Philadelphia. This furniture was made by an up-and-coming furniture designer called Thomas Molesworth. Eventually it came up for a sheriff's auction and was bought by the guest's stepfather.
The furniture was from like the 1930s, and my folks bought it probably in the late 50s.
Thomas Molesworth is one of the best furniture makers in the 20th century. One unique feature of his work is the burling and the wood. Most of the wood that Molesworth used was Douglas fir, found in Wyoming, South Dakota, and Montana. Let's take a look at the individual furniture.
So on the little table, first of all, I love the mining motif on top. I love the pick, the shovel, and the gold pan. It's so Molesworth. The top of the table is made out of leather, dyed green leather.
This collection had approximately 250 pieces in it, with the guest possessing about 40 pieces of it. When it comes to the value of this incredible collection, this is what the appraiser has to say.
But I would guess the couch to be worth at auction about $40,000 to $50,000.
With the chair costing $40,000 and the table $15,000.
I love those numbers. And thank
Sure you do.
This person acquired these 2 Chinese glass bottle vases in an interesting manner. He went to an auction for fun with his brother-in-law.
So I just rode over with him, had no intention of buying anything, and they brought out these jars, and I wasn't even listening really to what they were talking about, but...
He raised his hand out of curiosity and ended up becoming the owner of these vases. His brother-in-law believed he lost $200 on 2 ordinary jars. These handmade glass vases are dark blue, thick and of high quality and in good shape.
It's really unusual to find a pair. So that's good.
These glasses were made in China around 1775. The 4 Chinese characters on this square indicate they were made during the Qianlong Emperor's reign. Chips on the bottom and top decrease their value, but these chips can't affect much the stability and integrity of these ancient vases.
Yes.
But so I would say at auction, these would sell for $4,000 to $6,000. Wow.
1811 is such a year ago, but these original sculptural objects from the year still remain beautiful and in great shape. They're sculptural pieces made by England's most celebrated silversmith, Paul Storr. He was famous in the early to mid-19th century until date. His legacy, as seen in the pieces brought by the guest, lives on. The pieces are some of its rare products, which are often silver. These are gold pieces with an amazing history attached to them. The production year of the items ranges from 1811 to 1813. The order of the day in these years had an impact on what Paul made. The items from 1811 have the letter Q inscribed in them, while those from 1913 have the letter S. The letter distinguishes the items and make it easy to know its year of production. Paul's work travels beyond these years. He was active in his craft, also motivated by history. One of the sculpture has an identical design to the famous salt cellar sculpture made by St. Francis by Benevento Cellini. One could also assume that Paul was inspired by the sauce boats and salt cellar sculpture made by Nicholas Sprintmont, which he saw at Windsor Castle when working by King George III. These pieces remain in great shape, and we can say the guest got a great piece from his father. It's really tough to put a price on pieces that are great, clean, and golden as these, but the appraiser had to agree to a soothing price, which the owner wasn't expecting. The pieces are said to be worth up to.
I think I'd have to be looking at £40,000.
Good Lord. You do surprise me.
The symbol of our beloved country makes its way to the show. The carved wooden American eagle was inherited by the guest from his mother. The eagle, which dates to the 1850s, is carved out of soft wood. The origin is American, probably done by a carver in the Northeast. The piece is expertly made.
The unusual thing about it is that when this is up high, you wouldn't see the top of the wings. Didn't stop the carver from carving them as well.
Despite its damages, it is still in pretty good shape.
But if you look carefully, you can see vestiges of the original gilding and gesso.
Yeah. The appraiser values it about?
I think for auction purposes, I would estimate its value certainly between $6,000 and $8,000. It's a splendid bird.
It's me, it's worth $100,000, really.
That's right. Well, you know, there's no price for sentiment.
It's not going anyplace now.
Guest shared an amazing story about this here. It was gifted to her family by one of their workers who assisted them in running a seafood business. The piece was made by James Bittman, an English painter who specializes in agricultural and rural painting. The piece is called the Lobster Sauce, and it's got a root from Germany. The strange, cruel-looking animal picture was influenced by the painting of Edwin Lancia. It's a great work of imagination, portraying a fierce battle between a terrified cat and a fish. I'll say it's one-of-a-kind art different from other forms of the usual paintings you see around. It's a great paint that a whopping amount between.
I would say between £4,000 and £5,000.
I better tell him.
This little box of treasures makes its way to the show. It belonged to the guest's grandfather. It dates to the 1820s, 1830s. The miniature chest is primarily made of tiger maple, indicating it was probably made in New England.
The secondary woods are white pine and what looks like basswood. You find that in Vermont and sort of northern New England.
This little gem is a notable collector's piece.
If you're collecting chests of drawers, you can only fit so many into your room or in the house. But I've seen collectors who will take these little things.
It's valued at?
I think at auction, I could see this estimated at $6,000 to $8,000.
Oh my God!
And
wow.
In 2019, the value fell to between $2,500 and $3,500. What do you think the value will be today? Let us know in the comments section. These pieces of jewelry have a merge of Russian and English royalties. It was purchased by Princess Alex of Hesse and was gifted to the landlady of the boarding house she stayed in Harrogate after the latter gave birth to twins, and she was considered as the twins' godmother. The gift contains cufflinks and nappy pins, all bought in Harrogate. She also sent gifts to the family after she returned to Russia. This gold cross was sent to the male twin on his 21st birthday. The piece was brought back to life after the end of the Russian royal family by the son of the male twin. It's a great piece that's well cherished by the English family. From the collection of arms and armor of his father, this man brought an articulated iron lobster made by the Mayuchin family, originally armorers in Japan. In the mid-19th century, they transitioned to crafting tourist objects like this lobster due to the collapse of the feudal system. The iron lobster has a detailed and naturalistic replica of a live lobster, complete with artificial coloring to enhance its lifelike appearance. The appraiser mentioned selling a similar item, a dragon, for $10,000. But with the lobster's fine quality, it's definitely worth more than that.
I would say a conservative price on this one would be $15,000.
Oh, great.
At first glance, this rope looks like any other. But there's more to it than meets the eye. It's made from cow hides, maybe even 4 of them. People took a lot of time and effort to make it. They cut strips all around the edges and then braid them together into a strong rope. This wasn't easy. It took a lot of work. To make it last longer, they rubbed it with something called tallow. That's why it's still in good shape today. And most importantly, its price ranges from $4,000 to $6,000.
During an episode of the show in 1999, a man brought an original painting of his great-great-grandfather and his family, which was painted around 1820. Though the man was fond of the painting, he was unaware of who the painter was and hoped to get some answers on the show. Could the painter be one of those historic painters with rare and expensive artworks? He finally got an answer when the appraiser informed him that the painting had once been exhibited in the Scottish National Gallery in 1956 and was attributed to a miniaturist named Charles Robertson. Charles Robertson was a 19th century British painter who made paintings with oil and watercolour. He was the vice president of the Royal Society of Painters and Etchers. Some of his works are being held by the Walker Art Gallery in Liverpool. Although Robertson's artworks were greatly valued, his artworks didn't have a good track in the marketplace. Does this mean bad news for the man who brought in the painting?
It's got to command £15,000. I think it could even go up to £20,000 and perhaps more.
Goodness.
If that's not good news, then we don't know what is.
Our guest shares her discovery of the Meeson figurines at an estate sale in Dallas around 2001. The appraiser confirms that the figurines are indeed Meeson, noting that the crossed swords marked on the base, a hallmark of Meeson porcelain. These pieces are estimated to date back to around 1880. The appraiser expresses particular interest in one of the figurines, highlighting the rarity of the model featuring a pug, which is highly sought after by collectors. Despite a general decline in the market for Meeson, the appraiser suggests that the demand for pug-related items remains strong among enthusiasts. The estimated value of the figurines at auction is between...
At auction, I would expect these to sell in the range of $3,000 to $5,000.
Okay.
Which for your $500 investment is
Yeah.
good.
The guest inherited this remarkable hood ornament from her father. This masterpiece is the creation of the acclaimed American sculptor Harriet Frischmuth. She refined her skills alongside Auguste Rodin in Paris and under Guston Borglum in New York.
Works appear in many museums, the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York.
This piece is signed and dated 1923. It's not just a hood ornament, it's a rare car adornment crafted at the prestigious Gorham Foundry. In the roaring 1910s and 1920s, hood ornaments became all the rage, adorning cars with style and sophistication.
And the radiator would be out front. It's beautifully cast. The patina is in very good condition.
Its exquisite casting and impeccable patina not only enhance its beauty, but also elevate its value to new heights.
Auction, a piece like this would probably bring between $20,000 and $30,000.
Wow, that's awesome.
The guest bought 3 Winsor McCay comic art pieces that he purchased to the show. Zenas Winsor McCay was an American cartoonist and animator. He is best known for the comic strip Little Nemo in Slumberland and the animated film Gertie the Dinosaur. The comic strip is a pen and ink drawing which depicted Nemo having fantastic dreams that were interrupted by his awakening in the final panel.
That's right. Well, other than the comic strip, I know that he was an important pioneer in the development of animated films. He created a character called Gertie the Dinosaur.
The strip is considered McCay's masterpiece for its experiments with the form of the comic page, use of color, timing, pacing, the size and shape of its panels, and other features. It's very rare to have any Winsor McCay comic book with an original label from the New York Herald. The value of this exquisite piece is estimated to be around $25,000.
That's a nice piece of change, Gary.
Something nice to find at a barn.
Yeah.
Passed down to his wife from her great-great-grandmother, this jacquard Corvallet designed by his wife's ancestor has a history that meets more than the eye.
My wife's great-great-grandmother sheared the sheep, dyed the wool, made the thread, wove this all in the early 1850s.
At first glance, intricate patterns are visible.
The technology to make these kind of patterns was invented by a Frenchman.
See that the Corvallet is made from a combination of linen fabric and wool, giving it a shiny appearance. Additionally, the Corvallet features intricate borders, indicating expert craftsmanship. Adding to its beauty, the center medallion exudes quality. Perhaps that's why, for a Corvallet, it auctions between $800 to $1,200.
Worth preserving.
Our guest acquired it from a local antique dealer in 1976. This piece has a fascinating history. Signed by George Klimt, brother of the renowned painter Gustav Klimt, it reflects the Vienna secessionist movement's departure from Rococo excesses. The design showcases a shift to simple geometric abstract forms, highlighting the artist's skill. Crafted from hammered copper, the piece features a motto in the middle, reminiscent of the nursery rhyme, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all?" The appraiser values this piece at auction conservatively, estimating it to be worth,
at auction, probably conservatively in the $20,000 to $30,000 range. So
that's great.
The guest introduces a piece related to W.H. Merrill, the editor of the New York World from approximately 1890 to 1905. The appraiser highlights the exceptional nature of the piece, noting its larger size compared to most Rookwood silver overlay pieces. This silver overlay features calla lilies, which is common in silver overlay pieces. It's noted as a significant factor in the piece's quality. Crazing can affect the clarity of the artwork and its overall condition. The appraiser estimates the value of the piece to be around,
it's probably got to add another $1,000 to it at auction, so say maybe $4,000 to $5,000 at auction.
That's a delightful number.
This Seth Thomas clock is a timeless piece of American craftsmanship. It bears the name of its renowned maker, Seth Thomas, a prominent clockmaker from the 19th century. Known for their precision and durability, Seth Thomas clocks are cherished by collectors and enthusiasts alike. These clocks often feature elegant designs. Many Seth Thomas clocks have been passed down through generations, cherished family heirlooms. The reliability and accuracy have made them a symbol of quality and tradition. Each tick and tock of this clock resonates with history and craftsmanship. This clock adds a touch of timeless elegance to any space. Seth Thomas clocks continue to be sought after by collectors and appreciated for their beauty and functionality. Retail value is around $2,000. This rifle has a rich history, originally belonging to the guest's grandfather, then passed down through the family. The Henry rifle, a forerunner of the Winchester repeating rifle, holds significant historical value. Designed by B. Tyler Henry, it was a 15-shot, .44 caliber level action rifle, first used in the Civil War. The iron frame is a notable feature of this rifle, with an early serial number, 64, indicating its rarity. Despite some fading and cleaning, the rifle's overall condition is very good. The appraiser estimates its value today to be between
Good. I would estimate this rifle today from $75,000 to $100,000.
My goodness, thank you very much.
Isn't that a nice surprise?
It sure is. It's a wonderful surprise.
It's not every day you see an exquisite piece of jewelry associated with the movie.
30s movie, The Thief of Baghdad. It was directed by Alexandra Korda, and I've tried doing some research on it, but I keep getting contradictory information.
But the Thief of Baghdad jewelry appears to be so valuable it was used in a movie. The jewelry in question was produced during World War II, and for such an exquisite piece, one might expect it to feature numerous rhinestones, as was typical at the time. But because the world was at war, it came with a few rhinestones. Nevertheless, it was glazed with cabochon stones, pointed back stones, and properly cemented with great metalwork.
We've got some pointed back stones, pearl stones, and we've got a lot of intricate metalwork.
Despite being used in the movie Thief of Baghdad as a symbol of elegance, the jewelry is worth just a modest $1,050.
All right. Thank you so much for bringing them in.
Thank you. I finally learned something. I
Yes,
love
you
it.
did.
We have a Rolex Sea Dweller watch meant for professional divers. It belongs to our guest, who quite ironically isn't a sea diver.
Aware that Rolex made the best watches, my brother-in-law, who's now passed away, had a Submariner, and he said if you're going to buy one, buy the Sea Dweller.
It was bought brand new in January '82 and is the iconic 1665. This piece is truly unique.
This one is the last of the series of what what collectors refer to as the Great White.
This is because it has the writing in white rather than red. It's got a very small helium escape valve, which lets out the helium gas as the divers decompress. When asked about the scratch in the glass, the guest said,
I was out cycling with my daughter, and I was going downhill. Too fast. Came off, and it caught on the gravel. I ended up in hospital for a week with a punctured lung.
This is the full set with the bill of sale included. This piece would be valued at $18,000 to $20,000.
Fair.
Unbelievable.
Today, the guest brought along a glass star inscribed with the phrase, "May the Force be with you." It's connected to Star Wars, the franchise. It is a prospect star together with 2 Christmas cards, an invitation to a special screening of Empire Strikes Back in May 1981. The guests recount how these came into his possession.
No, not at all, but my mother was indirectly involved with one of the producers. That sounds not good, does it?
The star was given out to the crew and cast as a sort of souvenir, looking at the Christmas cards.
And actually the Christmas cards are interesting to me because you've got little signatures on the bottom there, RMQ, which is Ralph McQuarrie. So Ralph McQuarrie is so critical to the entire visual impact of the Star Wars saga. He devised many of the characters.
These items are not in the best condition, though, with a chip on the star. The appraiser values these items at,
say, £1,500, maybe even £2,000.
Really? That's astonishing.
Our watch experts often get to see some amazing timepieces on the roadshow.
The watch is known as the Moon Watch because it was worn by Armstrong in 1969. This guest also brought the same brand, Omega Speedmaster watch, which is famous as the Moon Watch. The watch is in poor condition.
And how did it get into this state?
It, unfortunately, went through my lawnmower.
It was purchased secondhand in the mid-1960s. Among the 3 types, pre-space, pre-moon, and post-moon, it belongs to the pre-space era. And the pre-space era extends up to 1960. Despite its rusty condition, it's extraordinary that it has survived over the years. Its strap looks good and suitable for it. The value of the strap alone is £3,000. The estimated value for the watch is £18,000 to £20,000.
My son will be even more excited because he wants to inherit it.
Call these items a cabinet of curiosities. This means they were a very special set of pieces that'll arrest your interest. It's interesting to know that it was passed down to the guest from her late grandmother. Let us dive into the box and erase the curiosities. The items are Georgian and Victorian jewelries. This eye-catching chain is a Georgian gold Betcha Link chain. It's got a hand with a gem set ring at the bottom of the making, and it's a rare design. The other chain is made of spurn gold, which was probably made around 1825 and 1830. Box is full of more pieces of jewelry. We've got mourning rings used to mourn the death of a loved one. Usually the name of the late individual is engraved behind the ring. This is a late Victorian ring with sapphire surrounded by halved pearls. We've got more curiosity to clear. It's good to know what the items are worth. Listen to the valuation as called by the appraiser.
From what looks like a fairly sort of straight Sheffield plate set, which is worth maybe no more than around about £300, you've got a lower tier drawer, which is probably worth £8,000.
God. Oh, I didn't realise that at all.
This Cubist painting challenges traditional forms and perspectives of art. The guest received the painting in 1967 from the artist George Melly. Melly, a native of Liverpool, was a painter, writer, critic, and lecturer.
And he was very familiar with the Palmer House when he was growing up. And he was totally involved with our campaign to restore this wonderful Palm House.
The painting, which is a Cubist picture of the outside of the Sefton Park Palm House, showcases a unique and creative sense of Melly.
All the different influences. You've got Cubism, you've got collage here. You look down here, you've got collage down here with the flowers. So you've got a mixture of sort of Cubism and almost pop art, like Peter Blake.
The appraiser values this painting between...
And I think it would make somewhere in the region of between £1,500 and £2,500.
Well, I think that's lovely and very nice to know.